Good morning, everyone. Please feel free to move in a little bit. We have some space in here. It's an exciting day. Welcome to the press conference, the media conference for the opening of the museum. I'm Kathy Dumeller, Vice President of Marketing Communications. I'd like to introduce our very hardworking President and CEO, John David Morris.
I don't usually get the middle name, but I loved it. Thank you, Kathy. Welcome, everyone. Before we get started, fill in a little more. We got a little more room over here. If I might move you all a little in this direction. Thank you. So everybody's got room. And the man of the hour, Preston Jackson. Where are you, Preston? Let's hear it for Preston Jackson. Preston, this will be a short ceremony, and you're still very young and a better martial arts expert than any of us in the room. But we're going to have Eric Hurd, our member of our board of directors, and you seated in a place of honor here at the front. So come up, Preston, please. And Eric is sitting with Preston Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special day as we make some big announcements about the reopening of the Peoria Riverfront Museum tomorrow, about the new exhibition, the most comprehensive in our history, of our permanent collection, and about the biggest gift to the permanent collection in the history of the museum, which we'll discuss shortly. To help welcome us on this exciting occasion, please help me welcome the chairman of our board of directors, the owner and president of Prairie Home Alliance, the sponsor, co-sponsor of the 101 Treasures exhibition, and the generous donor of these purple masks, the head of our Visionary Society as well. Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Jackson.
Thank you, John. Welcome, everybody. I'm not sure there's light enough in here for me to read. I should have brought some glasses along, but I made some notes today. And most of all, I want to say, normally I don't make notes, but this is such a great day with so much to be thankful for. I needed to make a list. It's not often our days are like that, because very often we're told it could have been worse. Let's remember to look on the bright side, look for the silver lining. We don't have to do that today. This is the bright side today, and I am thrilled to be here with the things that are going on. First of all, I'm grateful for the reopening. This past year has been pretty difficult for each and every one of you, and it's been that way for the museum also. This museum every year relies on the generosity of our donors and partnerships for its existence to a very large extent. But when you put it into the middle of a pandemic and the doors are closed and you don't have an opportunity for most of the year for any earned revenue, it really means a lot to have our donors step up, and all of them did. When you think about all the contributions made to this museum from our partnerships, from our Visionary Society, from the volunteers, from the staff. That's another place I ought to stop for a second. Our staff is amazing. This museum has so many blessings, and truly for me, I recognize the museum is becoming a blessing to all of Central Illinois. I'd like to thank our collection donors as well. Over the years, we have acquired so many beautiful and interesting objects into our permanent collection, and we have made a commitment to begin utilizing more of that permanent collection on a regular basis, and it's evidenced today through the 101 Treasures and through Folk as well. It's a blessing. Many of these things stay in storage, and the focus had been, as is appropriate a little bit, to bring in outside exhibits. but with the talent, energy, and intelligence of our staff, they routinely are working through our permanent collection and bringing those things out front to see. So a big thank you to people that have donated to our collection over the years. And finally, and I'm nervous about this part, finally I'd like to say thank you to Preston Jackson. If you live in Central Illinois, I think like me, you know that name. A couple of months ago, I had the honor of meeting Preston for the first time in this room, I think, as he was working on the installation of Bronzeville to Harlem, An American Story. And if you're lucky, every once in a while in your life, you cross paths with a special person, special soul. And his talents, his generosity, and his spirit, are just second to none to me. I knew in the moment that I met him, you take those three things and you wrap them into a spirit of gratitude and humility, and it becomes a remarkable day. I can't express enough how much we appreciate you living and breathing in Central Illinois and a lifetime of work that you have donated to the museum. Thank you very much. So on behalf of the entire board and staff of the Peoria Riverfront Museum, thank you to all of you for your attendance and your generosity, and God bless this great day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In this room is a very limited audience because of the times we live, but every single one of you is a significant leader for this museum who shares our values and believes in what we do. I work for the board of directors of the Peoria Riverfront Museum, 21 of the finest leaders who care deeply about our community, and they in turn work for the community. And I'm so pleased to have so many of them with us today, including the chair of our collections committee, who has led a tremendous collections initiative, Colleen DiGianardo. And in many ways, this is the capstone of one of the major strategic initiatives of the museum, the 101 Treasures. And Colleen, thank you for your leadership in that regard. I want to acknowledge at this time the two sponsors of the 101 Treasures exhibition. Bill Conger will speak in a moment about what's in it, but I'll tell you what's in it, which is our greatest objects that have been in storage for a long time. And just a quick story, in April of this year, shortly after the pandemic, a year ago, hard to believe, a year ago in March, the curators got together and almost for the fun of it said, maybe someday we'll do a publication. Let's pick out the 101 objects that are representative of the greatest things in the collection. And they did. We thought maybe somewhere down the road we could do something with it. Well, the second wave of shutdowns for this museum meant we had to postpone two major traveling exhibitions. And the galleries, these two magnificent galleries, I would say that some of the finest in the Midwest, were open. And sitting in Bill Conger's office, Renee Kerrigan, our curator of science, came in and she said, why don't we do the 101? Remember that moment? And what should have taken 18 months to 2 years to put together, our curatorial staff and the entire staff together put together in 2 months. That's a team. So help me recognize the treasurer of our board, the regional president of PNC, as well as, and I'm going to pull Steve back out here, Steve Jackson, the co-sponsors of the 101 Objects, Treasures exhibition, and Anne-Marie Miller, our VP for Development, to give you two a little token of our esteem. Come forward. say anything?
I'll keep it brief because you didn't come here to listen to me. I just want to reiterate a couple things that have been said here at the podium today because I think they're so important, and as we all know, sometimes we need to hear things 2 or 3 times before it really takes hold. So, first, to the community who has supported the museum for the last year, thank you. As I often give my board reports on a monthly basis and I talk about our situation, which should be much more bleak than it is, we have been very blessed by the community. And I think that part of that is because of a recognition of the work that has been done by this staff. So my second thank you goes to the staff. This staff, with their backs against the wall, not only created a new vision for this museum and a presence for this museum that probably people would not have experienced ever in their lifetimes had we never closed. So what they were able to do with the digital presence and the daily and weekly reach out to the community, I just want to thank you for that because that was tremendous work. I know a lot of people think that when we're not in the office, we're not working very hard. And I know for myself, I'm working twice as hard the last year as I ever have in my career. And I know it's the same for the staff here. So a deep, deep, heartfelt thank you to the staff. To Preston. He might not remember, but I actually met Preston a couple years ago when he was being honored at the Junior Achievement Hall of Fame. I just told his daughter this morning one of my favorite pictures in this museum is actually a picture of my wife and I with Preston and his wife at that ceremony, which is downstairs. This installation is beyond what any of us could possibly say thank you enough for. This is literally a life's work of Preston that he has so generously given us the ability to see and to cherish and to appreciate. It's titled Bronzeville to Harlem, An American Story, and it's a story that so many of us don't know, which is unfortunate. And we know, we've heard John say many times that this museum is about telling stories. And so Preston, from my heart, thank you for telling this story. Thank you for making this story available for so many people who don't know it, who should know it. And what you have done over 25 years to share that gift with us is just beyond what I can give you gratitude for. So, thank you.
Thank you. A lot's been said about the staff today, but I'm blessed to have the greatest museum staff of any museum in the country. You've heard me say this before, but we are the only museum of our kind. Art, science, history, achievement. But we use those disciplines to do one thing, which is to inspire people every day. And the staff members who are here, you're the greatest. And I appreciate you so much for what you have done, particularly in this last year. Help me welcome to the microphone our lead curator to give us an overview of this magnificent 101 treasures, Bill Conger.
Thank you, John, and what a privilege it is for me to stand before you today with this amazing exhibition that I am so proud of, a staff that really, at the 11th hour, dug deep, found some amazing stories in our collection vaults, and created an exhibition that rivals any Chicago, St. Louis, New York show, I guarantee you. This is a good start. This is a beginning. There are many more things in the Peoria Riverfront Museum Collection that need to be shown, that will be shown. And I do believe there's not a better time to reopen a museum than with an exhibition celebrating 50 plus years of a museum's dedication to their city and a city's dedication to their museum. 50 plus years. And I need to remind people as they walk through this exhibition, a number of the works that you will encounter were accessioned in the year 2021. We are actively building this collection and making a deeper, more meaningful statement about museums and what collections mean. But the work that you will see in this show range from 18th, 17th, and 18th century arts and crafts, objects of science that will literally blow your mind, from till balls that came from a great torrent that cut through our city, creating the river that has given sustenance here for so long, to works of modern and contemporary art, and our folk art, our decoys. A long lineage from this museum is represented in these rooms. So as you peruse, please take time with the objects. They all have stories. As the exhibition proceeds, there will be more in-depth storytelling through digital means. So we're very proud of this. And I'm going to leave the microphone now, but I want to make sure and thank our amazing staff, our curator of art, Zach Zetterberg, his assistant Jason Hoffman, our registrar Lottie Fittis, Renee Kerrigan, our curator of science. Without these people, this show doesn't happen. And we are so privileged to have them on board as well. Thanks for your time.
Help me thank the chair of the Collections Committee and our fearless leader of the Collections Initiative that has led up to this, and Colleen D. Gillenarder, come forward because we got a little present for you. Anne Marie Miller, our Vice President for Development, a little token of our appreciation for your leadership as the chair of our Collections Committee for the last 3 years. Colleen.
Thank you so much. I had wanted to take a quick opportunity to thank all of our donors. We always talk about our donors to the museum, and it comes in a lot of different ways. Particularly today, I want to thank Preston for his donation to our collection. It's a gift, and we thank you for that gift. I'd also like to thank the donors who have contributed to the museum's collection over the years. We have over 15,000 items in our collection, and it wouldn't have been possible without your generosity and thinking of the museum when you have gifts. Thank you so much.
There's one person in this room, and this is extraordinary, who knows virtually every story of the objects that we have on display. Because when he was a little boy, his parents were involved with the founding of our predecessor institution, the Lakeview Center for Arts and Sciences, which would then, in 1965, which would become the Lakeview Museum of Arts and Sciences, which really was the predecessor to the Peoria Riverfront Museum in 2012. And 3.5 years ago, a little more, I'm coming up on 4 years as the director, I asked him if he would be our guest curator at the museum. And he has worked hand in glove with our staff. And what a thrill for him to see so many familiar friends. And I would say a dozen or more of the pieces that we consider the 101 finest were either gifts from him or his family, or that he helped us procure. And from the bottom of our hearts, and he continues to serve, I double his salary every year because he serves voluntarily, and we just rely on him for so much. And we want to say thank you to our guest curator, Bill Heydrich. If you'd come forward, we've got a little something to say thank you for you.
John said to say something. Well, thank you. This is a great honor. It's also a real treat after all these years to see so much of the permanent collection on view. I think the first time I met John when he became director of this museum, I said, you know, you have a very important permanent collection. Use it or sell it. I'm glad to see you didn't sell it. And I think this exhibition is a real testament to the treasures that are here. And as we go forward, we will have an opportunity, as Bill Conger said, to elucidate some of the great stories around this collection. And I didn't know I was speaking, so I'm not prepared to talk about all of that right now. But you will see some just great stories about how this museum responded to unusual opportunities, responded to it with grace, dignity, and a higher level of professionalism. And in many ways, some of these collections forced the museum to evolve, to become a greater institution, a more sophisticated institution that was a good and proper modern museum. Anyway, enjoy the show. There's great stuff in there, lots of fun things, and you'll find out some of the great stories. And I know someone here, Sally, would know a lot of them. She was there as well as this all unfolded. It's just a great thing after 50-some years to see this come to fruition. Thank you. And thank you for the gift.
Thanks, Angie. Thank you, Bill. One of the things we're so proud about at this museum is that we have connected the dots between the great treasures of these exhibitions we bring through, of our great planetarium and our giant screen theater and our galleries, with the most important people we serve in this community, our young people. They are our future. And we have a tremendous program called the Every Student Initiative that was started by the challenge of Sally Snyder, our chair of our Every Student Initiative Advisory Council, and the call was answered by Dr. Sharon, our superintendent, who is here, who led us the way, and Polly Barton, who's not here, who helped get the funding started. But for a moment, let's concentrate on the most important constituency we have, our students, and what's about to happen for them at this museum. Help me welcome to the lectern Sally Snyder, the chair of the Every Student Initiative.
John's message to me when he asked me to speak was, will you please be short? I'm going to disappoint him probably for one of the many times I've disappointed him. But I have to start by saying a very special thank you to Preston Jackson. I've known Preston Jackson a long time because when he first came to Peoria, my mother was one of his greatest fans, always. And 6 months before Mother died, almost 10 years ago, Lakeview did an honorarium to Mother and had a special program for Mother at the museum. It was probably the last time almost that she was out. And guess who she wanted to have play the music and be there for her? And that was Preston Jackson. So there's another whole part of Preston we haven't even talked about, and that is he is a fabulous jazz musician, he has a fabulous band, and he has been a great friend to so many of us. So I say a very special thank you to Jackson for all he has been in this community. Nobody could say it better than you did, Steve. He is all those things and more. We are so lucky that he made Peoria his home. So thank you, Preston. So now I will do what John asked me to do, and let's see if I can do it as shortly as possible. First of all of you know, don't ever have a great idea because you may end up having to do part of it. So anyway, I still think of all the things I've done, and I've been around a long time. I am so excited and proud of the Every Student Initiative. And I'm proud for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it was a totally different idea. Nobody had ever thought of doing that. The kids used to come every single year to Lakeview, and I never remember whether it was 4th grade or 6th grade, and they visited the planetarium, and that was a big, trip. And then they came down here, and they had a field trip here, and they sort of ran around and played basketball and did things. And what we started, thanks to Polly and the foundation, was an initiative that was related to the curriculum of the schools. Every Student Initiative isn't a play day. This is a work day. It is a student day. It's to help the teachers and the students connect with great things that are happening in our world and particularly in our community. So I say a great thank you for the vision that was to do something that was unique, different. We don't know any place else in the country that's doing it. And I think it's a real testament. And so for 3 years, we were able to do that. And we brought every single student from Peoria Public Schools for the last 3 years, starting 4 years ago. And then about 2 years into it, Mike Graham of Graham Associates in East Peoria said, we'd like to have our students in East Peoria come. And so we added them. And then someone from St. Phil's said, we want our students to come. So we added St. Phil's. And we were all excited, and we had kids who'd been here 3 years. My favorite picture of the museum is the 3 little girls who said, when John asked them how many of you have been here before, and they put up 3 years. It's sort of been a very famous picture that's been around a long time now. So, but we all of a sudden, we got closed down in March. So instead of pouting and saying, oh dear, now we can't do this and we can't do that, we said, what can we do? And we went as a museum, as Steve talked about, we went to virtual experiences. And I want to tell you, it has been wonderful. It took us a long time to get some of them going and everything, but instead of sitting on our heels, we started with virtual experiences, and we now have a whole array of wonderful experiences for the students to share in their classrooms that are, again, curriculum related, because at the end of the day, we all know that that's going to be what's going to help them get forward, but also inspiring and fun and all kinds of activities. And then we had another idea, because someone on the board, who happens to be here today and will remain nameless, had the idea that, we really need these students, we need their families to be part of this. And so the museum came up with the idea of doing a student family fun pass. Totally different. And what they did, is they came up with the idea of having students come and see at least 3 activities. One of them was going to be see a movie with free popcorn. Now, who can pass that up, particularly if it's Willy Wonka this weekend? Then secondly, you could see this exhibit. How exciting to be able to come and see the exhibit that Preston's done for us. And what a challenge for them to be able to do that. And then there's always the Planetarium with fantastic shows that they can do. And if they come and they get to bring their families, they have to have the pass, kindergarten through 8th graders. Everyone has a pass that they come in, they bring their families, and they all can enjoy it. You can come back 3 times to get 3 things because you want to do all the different activities. And if you do all the different activities and you get 3 stamps on your card, you get a pass, 1 pass for you and 1 for an adult to bring you to T-Rex. Now, what can be more? T-Rex is a frightfully expensive show. Those of you who sit on the board, I'm sure, understand exactly what it's costing us. So this is a huge opportunity for these kids who might not otherwise be able to come. And to show you what kind of a community we had, one of the founding board members of the museum was on the City Links board. And so we called Joan Krupa and asked her if she would set up a meeting so we could see if we could get free transportation for any one of our kids with the pass. And she set it up. And so the kids who come and bring their families, all of them have free transportation to and from the museum on our buses. So this is a community effort. And I have to tell you, because she's declined to speak, she decided I could do it wrong. I never can do what she can do. The greatest cheerleader, the person who is more responsible for getting us where we are today, besides John and the staff, is Dr. Sharon Kherat. When John called her the first time and said, we have this idea, what would you think of it? Instead of saying, well, let me think about it, well, maybe, I'll sort of think. She said, it's great, well, how can I help? What can I do? She had several ideas and suggestions of how she could do it. She was our biggest cheerleader. And it was fantastic because when you have that kind of support from your superintendent, you have it made. And she has been that way all the way through. Then when we came up with this fun pass, she said, oh, yeah, let's do this and this and this. So I can't thank you enough, Sharon. We have had absolutely unbelievable working relationship with Sharon. She's, over the years, become a personal friend of mine, but most of all, I am so proud of a school district that saw the quality of woman that she was. And if you ever want to know her favorite expression, I'll do anything for my kids. And that means all the kids in Peoria Public Schools. She is absolutely their biggest supporter, their biggest proponent, and I can't thank you enough, Sharon, for all you have done for all the kids in Peoria Public Schools, but especially in getting them to the museum and supporting what we're trying to do here. So I want to say a big thank you to the staff, and I think Barb Dawson came in. Barb is the leader in all this. She has been absolutely marvelous. She's had to put up with me because, needless to say, I have a couple of suggestions and ideas, sometimes at 9 o'clock at night, and she has been wonderful. So Barb, and she is the person we all go to lean on to do this. So she has a great staff that work with her, but Barb, thank you for your leadership and for coming into a job that was probably a little different than what you thought you were signing up for, but that's the joy of working here. We all grow if we spend any time here because there is no choice if you're with John and the group. So thank you all very much, and thank you all so much for what you've done to make every student initiative. We can't do it without the kind of money that you all raise for us because it is a very expensive program. And now the last piece we've put in that some parts of me is as excited about as anything else is what we call the Educator Pass. Any teacher, principal, administrator in Peoria Public Schools in East Peoria or at St. Phil's that wants to become, that uses some of our virtual tours can sign up and get a 1+1 membership in the museum, at which point it's a $90 gift, which point they can come to the museum with their family. If they'll spend an extra $20, they can bring their whole family to the museum. And I think this is a great thing because we're not going to get the students, we're not going to get anyone unless the teachers really promote this and so forth. So we're really excited that the teachers and the principals and the educators will also have a chance to enjoy our museum because they are our future. And so thank you so much for what you have done to make this possible, and fantastic opening. And a special thank you to you, Preston. You'll always be first in my heart. So thank you.
Thank you, Sally, for your tremendous leadership. And now to the main event. I stand in front of one of the most remarkable achievements in artistic expression and history, a lifetime commitment by legendary artist Preston Jackson, whose daughter Natalie is with us, by the way. Let's hear it for Natalie Jackson. She and her sister Alice are his greatest achievements in the world, but behind us is incredible. Let me tell you what happened. Bill Conger and I strolled next door to the Contemporary Arts Center. I've known Preston for 30 years. We had a visit. Didn't have any of this on my mind. And Bill, as we walked out of there, Bill Conger said, that is a treasure, about half the size, right next door, tucked in a little closet area. Not closet, but little side gallery area. Nothing grand, but it was so special to see it. And Preston said, what if it were at the museum? So I called Jim Baldwin, retired vice president of Caterpillar, who with his wife Lou has been one of many competing presidents of the Preston Jackson fan club for years. And Jim stepped forward with a substantial gift to get things off the ground, and that was 2.5 years ago. And then something really special happened, which is a long-time friendship that I've been fortunate to have with Ron Givens. Began in a little conversation about this Katie and Jim Owens gallery, which had been pretty much the same for 8 years. And Ron Givens and Gives Co-Construction, and his wife Carrie is with us today, and his son Ronnie, stepped forward and donated the entire remodel of this gallery to help us get ready for this. between those two and Preston's own generosity, there was life breathed into this project in a way that is only just begun. So please help me welcome, and a little token of our appreciation, and if either or both of you care to make a remark, let's bring Jim. You pulled off your mask first. So Jim Baldwin, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. It's going to be really short. It's about time that this city recognizes a treasure. He's been here a long time, from a long time ago when we first met. And I've been trying to remember it, and he will remember it. It was at the Checker Raven when the riverfront was still a riverfront project. And it's all started there. I've been with him for when he got the state award for the Lincoln Award in Chicago. But this is time, because this city finally recognizes, and the museum recognizes, a treasure, and we have one. And thank you.
Thank you. Now, help me recognize one of my favorite Marines, a former colleague in his previous work when he was at the city of Peoria, helping protect and serve, and now one of the most successful businesses of his kind as the owner and chairman of GivesGo, Ron Givens. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Can I go off script just a second, John? I mean, I'm not going to take a long time, but I also want to have them come forward with me. Obviously, my wife, and Ronnie, my son, and then my other son, Justin Ellis. So why don't you all come up and let them take a... And I want to actually do a quick brag. When John talked about our history here in Peoria, I look around in this group and I see so many friends and people that I grew up around and with. It is absolutely, excuse me. It's an absolute honor to be able to fit in the community as an African-American company here in Peoria. And Preston, and many of you in this room, I've had individual relationships with. This young man over here who used to run by my house on Nebraska, and we would take off, and we would run for many, many miles in the morning, because at that time I was home and in the reserves, and we had to run all the time. Brian has come in and as a chairman of the board, but also so many different opportunities that he and his company have afforded us. I want to say that. Preston Jackson, again, as you can see, I get very emotional, and I'm sorry I'm taking a little bit of time, but I really have to, because there's some things that are very important as to why we did and why we did it. John didn't have to ask us twice. When I talked to Justin, who is our senior vice president of the construction company, I told him what we were going to do, and he did it. So he is responsible. He is responsible for this lovely exhibit, the work that was done, and he drove that project so that we would be here. So I want to, again, I think he deserves, because sometimes, you know, you have people that work with you and for you, and they don't get the recognition. I get to stand up here because I do very little, okay? I do very little. But this man here needs a round of applause. I don't, it's for him. So please. I want to say a lot, but there's one other very important thing that I want to say. Many of you are looking at us right now, and you see this beautiful piece of work here. Preston Jackson knocked me to my knees a number of months ago when he said, "Your mother, Alice Marie Givens, I love that woman. She was so instrumental in my growth in the African Methodist Church, Ward Chapel." And he says, "I've dedicated something here that represents her and her impression on me in life." This is pretty much an old replica, exact replica of what I grew up in. It was right up the street here. It was Ward Chapel AME Church. And I was a little guy when we went from there to where they are now. It used to be called Elliott, but now I think it's whatever. But it's the new church. And Preston, I really, really can never, ever replace that moment that you called me. And I thank you so much for having us to be involved. And we know that you have exactly the type of craftsmanship in your body, your heart, and your spirit to continue to give back many of these things that you are showing. And I hope that as you go through out here and as these days expand, that more people will not only know the history, but through the board, and I do want to thank the board, we are very, very happy, very, very happy. And of course, John is a very, very interesting man, and he can, and if I didn't get a call from John once a week, I would have felt very bad. So again, on behalf of Givesco Construction Company and my people, we hope that we can move forward and continue to be part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. What a story! Isn't that beautiful? There's 1,000 stories behind me, and we're going to be telling them. We've only just begun to tell these stories. And we've created the Bronzeville to Harlem Partners. Anybody can sign up, put your email in there. You'll get regular updates on the stories that we discover. It's going to be its own group. Now, before we bring up the main man, I want to ask Eric Hurd to step up here with me, who is one of my bosses, one of the members of the board of directors, and also represented the African American Hall of Fame Museum. Rosemary McCullough, the president of the African American Hall of Fame Museum, is with us, one of my chief advisors. Wave to everybody, Rosemary. But I want to say, this man has helped me lead all this effort. And I want to give you a little token of our esteem and see if you'd say a word. Eric Hurd. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to be a part of this journey. I'm proud to be a part of the Riverfront Museum as well as the African American Hall of Fame Museum. And to see Preston in action when he was working on this project and to see it where it is today, this is a tremendous honor and a privilege. So thank you for your work and thank you all.
Now, Preston would want me to do this next one, and that is to recognize his assistant of many, many years, who was integral in putting this entire project together. And Preston, let's give her a hand. Joy Kessler. Thank you. Joy, just come up. You don't have to speak, just come up. We have a present for you. She's always in the background. Thank you, Joy. ladies and gentlemen, a true Renaissance man, a true son of Illinois, born in Decatur, a graduate of Southern Illinois University and the University of Illinois, a member of the faculty and now professor emeritus and former chair of the sculpture department at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, one of the most prestigious in the world, a jazz guitarist, a car collector, a Tai Chi master, and a father and a husband and a citizen and a patriot and a historian. Preston Jackson is a Peorian, and I am proud of that. And this exhibition says we are proud of that. And Preston Jackson, these stories will live on. Please help me welcome for remarks on what we have before us, Bronzeville to Harlem, an American story, my friend Preston Jackson.
Thank you, John. Thank you for those warm words. Any project you do, you're bound to be affected, everything around it, new friends, people. I met Ray LaHood for the first time. I got a chance to talk to him and understand, his great mind. And of course, Jim Baldwin. Jim, all my life, it's like my twin brother. No, Steve's my twin brother, Steve Jackson. But, and Melba, I'm sorry she couldn't be here today, but no problem. She helped me get out of the house and get here on time. Well, a little bit on time. I'm always late. But, and like John said, definitely joy. 30 years, 35 years of we driving. You remember we were in New York, northern New York, whatever, and she drove this truck with my sculpture, huge sculpture on the back. She pulled it in a trailer. I had to follow her. And anyway, I like to tell those things. Someday I'll write about that. But Lakeview, and it's Lakeview that when I came up here in 1972 and worked with Mr. Sukim and helped build his school up. But there was something called the circus. It was a summer program that Lakeview gave. Summer circus, something like that. But anyway, it was for children. And ever since then, I've been connected. At that time, the name was Lakeview. And when these guys moved down here, it's like everything just exploded in a beautiful direction, And that's because of you, because you helped, you guys, you pulled it all together very professionally. I mean, we're looking at the Lonnie Stewart piece out here and the pieces that surround the place. Even some people, I'm going to kill myself with this. But anyway, some of the pieces that I directed as an instructor, I see things popping up. Things are changing very fast, very quickly, moving in many directions. But because of our political situation here in America, we got to remember it's very important that we hang together. I don't care about your beliefs and all of this other kind of stuff. Differences will always be. I mean, that's the nature of being human, But you can't let go of those connections, Some things are just temporary. They just happen for a minute. But friendships last forever. And so you got to remember that. I think it was John, because, I got kind of crazy, over this political situation. And John said, stay on, I mean, really. And you remember, stay on target, let all these other things will fall by the wayside, but stay human. And it's true, and I felt the impact. The sculpture here, it's a visual story, an interpretation, both historical and and fictional. The fictional part comes from real life. Mrs. Givens was the queen of our church. She had this smile. How many of you have seen her when she was alive? Mrs. Givens, Natalie remembers, when she was a child. And my wife, she always remembered Mrs. Givens, her smile. She would greet us, And that was the first time I had been in a church in years, But because of people like her, I had a connection to that part of life. And wow, I got so much to say, but this piece that I call it an installation. It is, but it's alive. It's alive because of the names, because of the people, because of the experiences. This piece is alive because of the fact that there was a bridge, that I came on over here in the 60s or 70s from Decatur, Illinois, driving my little raggedy car and all of that kind of. So it's alive because of things like that. Collins Corner, and places like that where I played in, and Richard Pryor was there, looking exactly like that, because I remember how annoying he was, because he'd come in and run, grab our microphone, and tell some crazy jokes and run off the stage, and no one wanted to hear him. But anyway, that's true. If you live long enough, these things happen to you. I mean, at Sun Records in Nashville, Tennessee, we were at Sun Records playing around with our guitars and things, and these white guys, they want to dance like us, and one of them was Elvis Presley. So things like that happen, and this is why, stay on target, we're human beings, and we have to stay on target, interact, respect each other. When I came here, Sally Page, she was taller than me. I always had a complex about my short self. But anyway, Sally Page, my very first friend, her and Pat Barton, and here in Peoria, Illinois, made me feel so welcome when we came here. And then I hooked up with Jim. I hooked up with Jim Baldwin, and I would say, I need this for this because I can't pay for my bronze and stuff like that. Bam, he'd write a check, And that was a big help, And it's been that way for years, man. And so anyway, I can go on and on and on and on, but I really thank you for allowing me to give this gift. A gift is one thing, but to allow me to donate something that so much of my blood and sweat and tears have gone into, and knowing that it's in a safe place. It was in Chicago for 7 years, right in Bronzeville, right in that area. And well, it wasn't seen very much by, a lot of things going on around that particular area. But, that's just how things are, right? It's like, when it came here from Chicago, now I feel that it has a home. It's safe, and meaning that I don't have to do because assimilating this thing, it's been all over. Oklahoma, it's been to Nashville, this particular piece. It's been everywhere, through Iowa, the last place, it wasn't Dubuque, I can't pronounce it, but anyway, Waterloo, and places like that. But it has a life, and now it has a home, and that means a lot, okay? Thank you.
Much more to come of the storytelling. Now, before we do one final thing, which is Preston and I are going to sign the official document that he is giving, promised gift of this incredible work of art to the people of Peoria through the ownership of the Peoria Riverfront Museum. And before we sign that, I want to bring up one last presenter who is probably chiefly responsible for the momentum of the collaboration to bring together the disparate number of people in this community to give birth to the Peoria Riverfront Museum. And that is a man who would go on to be appointed to the cabinet of the President of the United States, Secretary of Transportation, and formerly our congressman for 14 years, and the chairman of my President's Advisory Council, a group that I rely on great wisdom from, LaHood. Ladies and gentlemen.
Is there anybody that would like to speak that hasn't spoken? I can get you on John's list. You know, yesterday John sent me a little agenda with the people who were going to speak in what order. Half of the people that spoke here today were not on that list. That's what makes John the fabulous executive director that he is. He knows how to recognize people. John has done unbelievable taking this magnificent museum to a level that many of us never dreamed it could be taken to. I'm going to say three very quick things. Preston is, of all of the famous people in Peoria, today he really gets the recognition that he deserves. He goes down in the Peoria Hall of Fame of celebrities in the art world. I mean, we all know people who've gone on to play professional basketball and professional comedians, been involved in politics, done a lot of important things. But to recognize here one of the outstanding Peorians in the world of art is extraordinary. And that's what we're doing here today. We're saying to a big part of our community, maybe you didn't know about Preston, but now you do. And what he leaves here in this exhibit, for all of us old people who really don't know much about this, he leaves this to the young people. That's what this museum is about. It's not about Ray LaHood, it's not about John Morse, it's not about Sally Snyder. It's about our kids and our grandkids. That's what it's about. That's why we wanted to have a museum. That's why we wanted John Morris to lead our museum. That's why we have such a great staff here, because we're talking about, this is about the future. And the program that Sally and Polly Barton and others started with Dr. Kherat, who I think has the toughest job in Peoria. Running the Peoria Public Schools is the toughest job, and nobody has done it better than Dr. Kherat. And thank you for that. And accepting in an instant, when offered an opportunity, to give our young people the idea, this is about the past, you're about the future. That's what it's about. Preston, that's what you've given our community, a gift that nobody else could give us. And nobody else could give our grandchildren. A lesson in the past and hopefully lessons for the future. And we honor you today. We honor your work. We honor your legacy. And you are now in the Peoria Hall of Fame for the Arts. Thank you to all of you who made this happen. God bless you, Preston. You've done a great service to our community.
We ready? If Preston would join me at this table, and if Ron Givens and Carrie would join us, and Ronnie, if you want, and Jim Baldwin come forward, we'll sort of flank out here, and Chairman Steve Jackson and Colleen G. Leonardo and Brian Ray, let's all mix it up and come stand up here, and Preston, join me at this table. Come face the cameras. Preston and I have in front of us the formal agreement conveying Bronzeville to Harlem. an American story to the people of Peoria through the Peoria Riverfront Museum. And as we sign this, let me read the dedication. By the authority of the Board of Directors of the Peoria Riverfront Museum, and with support from advisors, members, donors, and partners, we recommit ourselves to the inspiration for every person across the generations. To those who make music, keep the faith and build bridges among people. To those who defend freedom and justice, to those who share the stories of the struggles and triumphs of history, and to those who continue every day to believe in the promise of American opportunity, to you, the Peoria Riverfront Museum hereby dedicates Preston Jackson's Bronzeville to Harlem, an American Story, March 5, 2021. What we're signing is formal documentation that the museum requires as every gift that we receive. And this becomes an official promise gift, the largest of its kind in the history of the museum. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you all. God bless Preston Jackson. And thank you for coming. Enjoy.